Benjamin Netanyahu killed over 30,000 Palestinian children. His war on Gaza has left a generation in ruins. Under his command, Gaza was reduced to rubble, its people displaced, starved, and left to mourn their children. The language of security was used to justify mass killing and devastation. The world is no longer silent. Demands for justice echo across the globe. This war is the result of decades of occupation and blockade, with Netanyahu at the center of every decision. He rejected a two-state solution, entrenched the occupation, and fueled endless cycles of violence. The current war is the most extreme result. Military force above all else. Palestinian lives counted as nothing. International bodies are taking unprecedented steps, charging Netanyahu with war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide. The evidence is overwhelming. A campaign waged with total disregard for the laws of war. Netanyahu's legacy is not security, but the shame of mass death. The facts are written in Gaza's destroyed homes, schools, and hospitals. The faces of starving children and grieving families tell the real story. This is not a just war against terrorism, but a powerful state unleashing its might on a defenseless population. The world's patience has run out. Accountability is now demanded. The story of Gaza forces us to confront the meaning of justice, security, and the price of silence. Netanyahu's shadow looms over a nation and a war that has lost its moral compass. The world must reckon with the consequences of his choices. The victims' voices can no longer be ignored. This is a turning point for Israel, Palestine, and the world. The question now is, will justice finally prevail? The International Criminal Court has shattered the illusion of impunity. Its chief prosecutor has sought arrest warrants for Netanyahu and his former defense minister, Yoav Gallant. The charges war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza. These include starvation of civilians, willful killing, and attacks on civilian populations. The ICC's action sends a clear message: no leader is above the law. The evidence is damning. Starvation, deprivation of food, water, and medicine, and collective punishment of Gaza's population. The charges extend to extermination and persecution, pointing to systematic, intentional violence. Netanyahu and Gallant now face international arrest, their ability to travel and engage in diplomacy crippled. Israel may not recognize the ICC, but the warrants validate the suffering of Gaza's victims. The world's highest court affirms, this is not collateral damage, but the result of criminal decisions. The implications are profound. Netanyahu is now grouped with the world's most notorious war criminals. The era of looking the other way is over. The ICC's move is a turning point for international justice. The suffering in Gaza is no longer just a tragedy. It is a crime demanding accountability. The world is watching, and the call for justice grows louder. The question is no longer if, but when accountability will come. The United Nations has become a crucial witness to Gaza's horrors. Its reports accuse Israel of extermination, intentional destruction of a population. Civilian shelters, schools, hospitals, religious sites became targets, not sanctuaries. UNRWA schools, clearly marked, were bombed despite sheltering families. The evidence is meticulous. Classrooms turned to morgues, playgrounds to graveyards. These were not military targets, but deliberate attacks on civilians. The destruction extends to Gaza's cultural and educational infrastructure, universities, libraries, mosques reduced to rubble. Experts call it cultural genocide, erasing history, identity, and future. The war is not just on bodies, but on memory and knowledge. UN reports, based on ground evidence and survivor testimony, conclude Israel has violated international law in multiple ways. The pattern points to a policy of extermination. The world faces a terrible truth. These acts fit the legal definition of humanity's gravest crimes. The international community can no longer look away. The evidence demands action. The cost of inaction is complicity. The Flower Massacre is a brutal symbol of Gaza's suffering. On February 29, 2024, thousands of starving Palestinians gathered for aid in Gaza City. Instead of relief, they faced gunfire. Over 100 killed, hundreds wounded. They died seeking bread. This was not an isolated incident, but a convergence of Israel's cruelest tactics: starvation and direct attacks on civilians. Eyewitnesses and video evidence contradict official claims, revealing a deliberate attack on desperate people. Children are the primary victims. Malnutrition, starvation, and trauma are rampant. The massacre's images, bodies beside scattered flour, expose the depths of inhumanity. Food has become a weapon. Seeking it, a death sentence. International condemnation followed, but the siege and attacks continued. The Flower Massacre is now a grim statistic in a war of countless tragedies. It is a permanent reminder of the price civilians pay for a war they did not choose. The world's outrage has not ended the suffering. The siege persists, and so does the hunger. The massacre stains the conscience of the world. It demands justice for the victims. The suffering of Gaza's people cannot be ignored. The world must act, not just mourn. The massacre is a call to end the use of starvation as a weapon. The children of Gaza deserve more than our sympathy. They deserve protection. The world must not let this crime be forgotten. Justice must follow tragedy. Starvation is one of the oldest and cruelest weapons of war and a grave crime under international law. The ICC accuses Netanyahu and Gallant of using starvation as a deliberate strategy in Gaza. From the war's outset, Israel imposed a total siege food, water, fuel, and electricity cutoff. Humanitarian aid is blocked or delayed, with convoys turned away for trivial reasons. Aid workers are killed, warehouses bombed, and famine spreads. Gaza's entire population faces crisis levels of food insecurity. The north is in full-blown famine. This is not a tragic byproduct. It is intentional. Emaciated children die in overwhelmed hospitals. Parents forage for weeds to feed their families. Starvation stunts growth, destroys immune systems, and leaves lifelong trauma. It is violence that is slow, silent, and agonizing. The world has watched this unfold in real time. Pleas for aid are largely ignored. The trickle that gets through is not enough. The continued obstruction of aid proves intent. This suffering is not collateral, but calculated. The use of starvation is a war crime of historic proportions. The world must recognize this policy for what it is. The suffering of Gaza's civilians is the intended outcome. Justice demands an end to this strategy. The world cannot allow starvation to be normalized as a weapon. Genocide is the gravest crime in international law. The 1948 Genocide Convention defines it as acts intended to destroy a group, in whole or in part. Many experts and nations now argue Israel's actions in Gaza meet this definition. The case at the International Court of Justice contends Israel's campaign is about destroying Palestinians in Gaza as a group. Evidence of genocidal intent is found in both rhetoric and deeds, dehumanizing statements, mass killing, and deliberate famine. The ICJ has found it plausible that Israel's acts could amount to genocide and ordered urgent humanitarian measures. Israel has defied these orders. The killing and starvation continue. The combination of incitement, mass civilian deaths, and systematic destruction creates a powerful case. The world can no longer ignore the evidence. The charge of genocide demands urgent action. Justice for Gaza is now a test of the world's conscience. To understand the endless war, you must understand Netanyahu's doctrine. Manage conflict, never resolve it. For him, a Palestinian state is an existential threat, so every peace process is sabotaged. He's expanded settlements, fragmented Palestinian leadership, and preferred a radical enemy to a moderate partner. The current war is the catastrophic endpoint of this strategy. Netanyahu's war aims are intentionally vague, justifying endless conflict. Perpetual war serves his political interests, keeping him in power and deflecting from his failures. This approach ensures another generation will know only hatred and violence. It deepens occupation and makes reconciliation nearly impossible. Netanyahu's policies are about dominance, not security. Peace is impossible under his leadership. He is a tactician of conflict, not a statesman of peace. The statistics are staggering: tens of thousands killed, millions displaced. But behind the numbers are children, families, and a society torn apart. An entire generation of Palestinian children is being lost, killed, maimed, orphaned, starved. Survivors carry invisible wounds that will last a lifetime. Childhood has been stolen, hope replaced by trauma. Hospitals are destroyed, doctors killed, and the sick left untreated. This is a public health catastrophe and a deliberate assault on life itself. Gaza's people are not just statistics, they are human beings with a right to dignity and a future. The war has stripped them of all three. The world must see the human faces behind the tragedy. The destruction of a generation is a price too high for any political goal. The suffering of Gaza's children is the deepest crime of all. The world must not look away. The war on Gaza will be remembered as a moment of profound moral failure. The evidence, ICC indictments, UN reports, images from the ground, tells a story of systematic destruction and disregard for life. Decades of impunity have led to this disaster. Netanyahu embodies a culture of defiance, believing himself above the law. The ICC's arrest warrants are a crucial first step toward justice. Peace cannot be built on injustice or occupation. Netanyahu's doctrine of perpetual conflict has failed both Israelis and Palestinians. A just peace requires accountability, an end to occupation, and recognition of Palestinian rights. The killing must stop, the siege must end, and aid must flow freely. The world faces a choice: continue with empty condemnations or act to uphold international law. For Gaza's children, for the future, we must choose justice. The cost of impunity is unbearable. The time for action is now.